YouTube's and Twitch should be running. And cunts. Welcome to episode 71. Hi, guys. How are you today? It's Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. Yesterday, there was a UFC fight. And while watching the fight, there was a couple times that I was like, Aaron sitting, like, if you were there sitting there next to me, I would have asked you this question I've never, like, so do you, obviously DC's a pro, like his background is wrestling, but in your perspective, sometimes DC is like, he's put on the spotlight and he's their wrestling pro, like expert, like they often defer to him like, hey DC, what do you think about this wrestling, blah 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 blah. Do you actually think the stuff that DC says is actually like on point, or is he sometimes a little full of shit?
I think when he's being a commentator, he has two modes. He has like analyst mode, and he has just big dumb fan mode, who's just watching and be like, hey, look at that. And sometimes they cut to him, and he's still in big dumb fan mode, and just stuff will come out of his mouth. And but no, I mean, like he's very, very knowledgeable at wrestling. He was an Olympic wrestler. Like when he's actually in analyst mode, the stuff he says is extremely accurate, I think.
So that was one thing I wanted to ask you. The second thing I want to ask you, obviously, is Aaron's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Roxanne Modafferi.
She retired.
It was her last fight yesterday after a very long career. She's a pioneer in MMA, women's MMA. What were your feelings? Were you sad, Pants, or were you like, whatever?
I mean, we kind of outgrew the meme on the show. Like we haven't even discussed that. So
I never really hit it again.
No. So I the fact that she fought that long, I'm trying to, like, if you saw this woman, you're like, what does she do for a living? You'd be like assistant librarian, maybe, kindergarten teacher. Like she is very, very unassuming. And despite the fact that she's a trained fighter and works out a ton, isn't particularly physically imposing. And the fact that, I mean, she's been fighting for like decades now and got to the UFC and got wins and everything. Like, great for her. But, it's probably time to move on. Like she's actually engaged.
Yeah.
She's gonna have sex with a human male, ostensibly.
Do you think that her and her guy have had sex before, or do you think she's been saving herself for marriage?
You know what? Not something that has really kept me up at night. I wasn't like, oh.
I remember her on whatever season she was on Tough, and I think one of the coaches was like, he wasn't like really flirting with her, but he had like said something that like was kind of like, hey, you know, like fucking around with her, but still like kind of in a sexual, but not really.
Yeah,
way.
She did not get it at all.
Yeah, it would like went completely over her head. I thought that was kind of fucking funny. Yeah, even the commentators yesterday were they were trying to be polite, but they were like, yeah, she was never the most skilled, but she has a lot of heart and she's happy and blah 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 blah. It was kind of fucked up.
She's like pretty good at jiu-jitsu. Not amazing, but
of all the arts, that's her strength is the ground. Her jiu-jitsu is probably like her best tools. Her striking's like was rudimentary. She was getting hit a lot.
She's just this little assistant librarian wannabe who doesn't understand sexual innuendo. Just over there in Japan, like fucking fighting in like cage fights when that was barely a thing for men, let alone women. So she's a true character in the sport. Congratulations, Roxanne. I know you're probably listening.
Yeah.
To a great career, and then I wish you the best in your future endeavors and marriage.
Yeah, good job.
And if you guys ever want to spice something up in the bedroom, you've gotten past like missionary, you've tried other things, and you're like, you want to bring a third in, I'm here for you.
Oh, wow.
Just let me know.
Just throwing it out there. Ooh, that'd be... Oh, man, a three-way with Roxy and her dorky fiance. Anyway, she was a real gladiator. Do you know where gladiators came from? The Roman times. And you know what else is crazy about the Roman times? Is that the emperors in Rome were sick motherfuckers. I don't know if that transition worked or not, but I tried. So make fun of me later for it.
What I found is it's a lot better. Like whatever transition you do, if you stop and sort of like acknowledge the transition, that really makes it perfectly smooth.
It's like explaining a joke kind of thing. Like it's not funny if you have to fucking explain it, you idiot. Just let it go. Let it go. Anyway, Degenerates history. Degenerates history. The 11 most sexually depraved things.
Did they have Morse code back in ancient Rome?
Yeah, huh?
Oh,
duh.
We're learning
They
already.
were the first to discover it. The 11 most sexually depraved things the Roman emperors ever did. I'm gonna read the little preface thing and then kind of just gloss over the. Anyway, the emperors of Rome could be wise, just, and kind. They could also be vindictive, cruel, and insane. And most of all, they could be the worst perverts the world has ever seen, at least according to ancient historians like Suetonius, Pliny, and Cassius Dio. Here are nearly a dozen of the most immoral, disgusting behaviors the rulers of ancient world indulged in, supposedly. Chances are most of these were rumors made up by political enemies or gossiping plebs, whatever, however you pronounce that word. But hey, just because they may not be true does not mean that they're not at least somewhat entertainingly perverse. Number 1, niece marrying. The Emperor Claudius married his brother's daughter, Agrippina. His brother being long dead, thank goodness. His affections were ensnared by the wiles of Agrippina, daughter of his brother Germanicus, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, he boned his niece, married his niece. What do you think about that?
Mondo, not great.
like Biden's almost already there, so there's not a really whole stretch.
Not great. Well, I mean, because here's the thing. Like, it's his brother's niece. So is he just looking at her when she's a little girl and like, oh, I can't wait. And I was going to say, oh, I can't wait till she's 18. They weren't fucking waiting until they're 18. She's like, I can't wait until she's 11.
Right.
She's a ripe age.
Fucking crazy. That's, I don't, yeah, I'm not going to touch that one with a fucking 20-foot stick, but that's just gross. Number 2, hiring anal sex experts.
Okay. Now we're into the sensible stuff. Continue.
No judgments on anal sex here, but putting professional anal sex experts on the imperial payroll is a bit much. On retiring to Capri, Tiberius devised a pleasance for his secret orgies. Teams of wantons of both sexes selected it as experts in deviant intercourse and dubbed analists. Not analysts, analists. Copulated before him in triple unions to excite his flagging passions.
You know what? You can either pay the analysts to work their magic, or you can pay the cleaning crew afterwards. And I think there was a wise move by the emperors to hire those analysts.
In case these pros were somehow not up to the tasks Tiberius put them to, he had a sex library full of illustrated work so he could just point to what he wanted. Dude, that'd be awesome if you had like a wall chart.
Do you think there were like different like tiers in the analyst command structure?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm the captain analyst. This is my assistant analyst.
Whoa. Or just, like what Tiberius did, like having when you go to a haircut, sometimes they have like pictures of like the different hairstyles on the wall. You're like, oh, I want my hairstyle like number 12. This guy had pictures of like sex stuff and like, I want to do that one. That'd be kind of cool. Number 3, the animal game. Nero was so into being as depraved as possible, he supposedly defiled every single part of his body that he had to think up of some pretty original ways to keep it fresh. He at least devised a kind of game in which, covered with the skin of some wild animal, he was let loose from a cage and attacked the private parts of men and women. Basically, is like this is like the origins of furries.
Just gone way too far.
Yeah, he was actually wearing real women, like animal skin, and chasing after motherfuckers. That's crazy.
I mean, that is like a slippery slope with porn, though. If you watch too much of it, like you just find yourself sinking lower and lower.
Yeah, you go kind of numb.
Filthier stuff. So that's he was just doing that, but like IRL. So
yeah,
he ended up being the first furry.
Yeah, crazy. Number 4, sister fucking.
Sure.
Say what you want about Caligula, but he was really, really good at incest. He lived in habitual incest with all his sisters, and at a large banquet, he placed each of them in turn below him, while his wife reclined above.
Oh, okay.
Pretty cool.
So it's family activity.
His sister Drusilla was his favorite, having had sex with her when he was but a boy, and when they were grown, he simply took her for her legal husband for more fun. From her legal husband. His other sisters he was somewhat less fond of, and thus he only often prostituted them.
Oh, okay.
So he wasn't just a sister fucker, but a sister pimp.
He was an entrepreneur.
Again,
With
so
an
there's
emphasis on the preneur.
just like what they say about the music industry, how like no music is original anymore. It's all like copies.
Mm-hmm.
Porn. I mean, look at this. I mean, how many like fucking things on Pornhub are like stepsister fucking and all this weird shit. Well, at least this was like his bylaw. That's kind of gross.
Yeah, we needed the Italians to invent pizza and then Julius Caesar to invent pizza places just so we could have an original porn where they deliver pizza.
And then put their dick in the hole. Number 5, sex rest stops. Here's an idea you've probably never had to make these long road trips more enjoyable. Set up stops full of prostitutes along your way. And when you do, thank Nero.
That's called Reno?
Is Reno like that? You think? I've never been to Reno.
No, I haven't either. But I believe there are prostitutes in Reno.
Nice. Just like, I bet they're in Nevada. Whenever he drifted down the Tiber to Ostia or sailed about the Gulf of Baiae, booths were set up at intervals along the banks of shores, fitted out for debauchery, while bartering matrons played the part of innkeepers, and from every hand solicited him to come ashore. Better than horrible joke. Better than vending machines, that's for sure. I mean, there's a thing with rest stops now where it's supposedly like where like gay dudes going.
Yeah, I don't think anymore. I think that was a thing, like maybe in the 90s or so. But I think gay dudes, they've got Grindr now. They don't need rest stops.
Technology. Number 6, motherfucking. In terms of sexual depravity, Nero even put Caligula to shame by going to the source, so to speak, and having sex with his own mother, Agrippina. How did people know? So they say whenever he rode in a litter with his mother, he had incestuous relations with her, which were betrayed by the stains on his clothing. Ew, cum stains, give it away. Lastly, when Nero was emperor, people tried to keep him from fucking his mother, mostly because they were afraid that Agrippina would get too much power from the relationship. It should probably
that was their issue.
Not that it was wrong. Like
fucking Romans.
It should go probably without saying that eventually Nero tried to murder his mother by putting her on a break-apart boat.
Oh, as you do.
Pretty cool. All right.
That's just some like cartoon villain level shit. He's gonna put her on a break-apart boat, and then she's gonna drown.
But what did his? I mean, if he was banging his mom, what did his mom do that was so bad that he had to like kill her?
I don't know. Maybe in a future installment of Degenerates History, we can dive deeper into Nero.
She was not cool with anal, I guess.
We'll dive deeper into Nero and find out how he dove deeper into his mom.
Gross. Number 7, creating an imperial brothel. Caligula was found with spending money but not so good at making it. After depleting the coffers at one point, he had the bright idea to turn his palace into an impromptu whorehouse. To leave no kind of plunder untried, he opened a brothel in his palace, setting apart a number of rooms, furnishing them with the suit of grandeur of the place. Blah, 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 blah. So basically, he turned the palace into a fucking whorehouse. Pretty cool.
He was like, all right, I spent all the money. Sisters, let's get to it.
Dude, I wonder if he
make Uncle Caligula some coin.
Do you think he prostituted his sisters?
It said it. And the other one just before.
Oh, I didn't pay attention. Maybe
those words came out of your mouth.
Didn't stick. Number 8, part-time prostitution. The Emperor Elagabalus, who ruled from 203 to 222 AD, outdid Caligula in this regard. Elagabalus set up a brothel in the palace and pimped himself. Wow, that's pretty cool.
You know what? So, like, take one for the team, you know? You got to lead by example.
Yeah, if you want to fuck the emperor, $500. Now you could say, hey, I fucked the emperor.
Yeah, I don't think they had dollars back then, but understood.
Yeah. Number 9, making a man his wife.
Oh?
I'm not talking about gay marriage here, at least not really. I'm talking about Nero taking a man and making him a woman in the worst way possible.
Oh.
He castrated the boy Sporus and actually tried to make a woman of him, and he married him with all the usual ceremonies, including a dowry and a bridal veil. Took him to his house to attended by a great throng, and treated him as a wife. Eunuchs, when having sex with men and women, just wasn't enough anymore. Holy moly, that's pretty. But I don't know. I don't want to open a Pandora's box, but I think we're kind of heading in that direction here. Anyway, number 10, tiddlers.
Nero would definitely open Pandora's box and stick his dick in it.
Yep. And my dick in the box. Number 10, tiddlers. In quotations. I don't know what that is. We'll find out. Emperor Tiberius loved to swim, and he apparently also loved being pleasured by children.
Oh, no.
I don't want to read this one anymore. In a feat of inspiration, he managed to combine both these hobbies into one. He trained little boys, whom he termed tiddlers, to crawl between his thighs when he went swimming and tease him with their licks and nibbles.
Oh, no. Okay. All right.
Okie dokie.
God, fucking Roman emperors. What was it? Because there have been other powerful, dynasties and things like that, and they were fucked up. There's definitely some drunk with power tendencies that come with the job, but none of them were this fucked up.
Well, dude, I mean, like, just think about the whole Epstein thing. Like, there's a thing, like, in these guys' minds when they've had so much power and they can just get away with so much deviant shit that they just, again, they go numb to the normal stuff, and they do this weird, depraved sexual stuff. The last one is going to be very disturbing. Forewarning. Number 11, baby fucking.
Oh, and we're done. I don't think we need to read that one. Can I just add one that's not on this list that I actually found strangely endearing? This wasn't on this list. This was about Caligula, because he did a lot of fucked up shit. And I'm reading stuff about him, and there's this one where it says, like, Caligula was very, very fond of his horse. And I'm like, oh no, like, where's this gonna go? And then apparently it was just, like, completely platonic. He just, like, loved his horse, so he had his giant, like, marble house built for it. Like, his horse had its own house, and then before Caligula was assassinated, which that part may completely make sense. I would also kill Caligula if I could have. He was trying to, like, promote his horse to, like, a spot on his council, so it'd be like an official advisor for the empire, and like. I'm like, yeah, he was insane, but you know what? Something about this seems strangely wholesome compared to mother, sister, and kid fucking.
And baby fucking.
Oh, no. I'm just trying to forget that one ever happened. That's just, no.
I actually read it. I don't want to read out what it said.
Yeah,
but it is
don't.
Very disturbing.
Don't.
Moving on from disturbing, depraved, degenerate shit that Roman emperors did, we are now going to talk about this degenerate shit we did. Moving on to the world of Reddit. Hey, Aaron. Reddit question number 1 is, what was the first thing you did when you turned 18?
I have no idea. I can't remember specifically, like, anything that I did where I'm like, oh, I'm 18. Like, great.
Yeah.
There was something I did when I turned 17.
Okay.
Because my parents said, like, I remember I was 15 or 16 and I wanted to take a road trip by myself. And the whole time I was a teenager, they're like, yeah, when you turn 17, you can do stuff like that. So I took my first big road trip. And I do remember, though, the first sort of degenerate thing that I did after turning 18. This was the summer, like, so I have a birthday in January, so this was probably like July or August. But we did go to a Philadelphia strip club. That was the first time I've ever been in a strip club. And I remember it being, like, really dark and dingy and crowded. I remember running into 3 guys from our high school who were, like, I don't want to call them, like, geeks, but they were, like, very, like, entrepreneurial minded, where they were like, yeah, we're like, I remember they were, like, buying domain names, like, this is, like, late 90s, and like trying to sell them, and, like, I think one of them ended up owning a bunch of, like, row houses in Philadelphia and being kind of like a landlord. But, like, just seeing, like, these 3, like, kind of like geeky guys from my high school at the strip club was very strange. But the part that stands out the most was, I mean, the strippers were just super drugged out of their mind. I mean,
How hotness though? Scale
No.
of 1 to 10.
no.
No,
Caligula would have been like, no, thank you.
really?
They were not hot, and they were, and part of it was probably, again, like recognizing people under the influence of anything was not really in my forte at that point, and they were so fucked up, or even I was like, oh no, like there's drugs involved here.
Yeah.
And I remember the one was just who was on the stage was just doing anything she could to try to get
A couple bucks.
yeah, get money, and she was like sticking like cherries in her pussy,
Mm.
and then she was like $5 for pussy cherry, and she was trying to like get people to buy them.
You know there are dudes that pay that shit though.
And
There-
yeah, no, 100%. That's why she was doing it. And then someone I think was just trolling her, and he's like $10 for an ass cherry, and she was just, I mean, she was fucking high out of her mind, and she's like, you can see her thinking about it. I'm like, no, don't do it. She's like $5 for $10 for ass cherry. I'm like, don't stick that cherry in your ass. And then she did, and I was just like, okay, I'm leaving. Fuck this place. It was just like the dingiest, dirtiest Philadelphia strip club, and that might be the experience that initiated me into strip clubs and why I never really liked them afterwards.
I don't know if it's just me, but I think I've had pretty damn good luck in strip clubs. I'm not a big strip club guy from the jump. I'm not, but the few times I have gone to them, I've been pretty lucky where they've been attractive-ish. I mean, goddamn, when I was 18 or 19 or whatever, my first strip clubs, I fell in love with like 5 girls. It was awesome. Let's see what. Oh, yeah. What did I do when I first turned 18? I wasn't like the biggest like wrestling fan, but I did watch like WW whatever the hell it was. That was like a hit at the time, and I remember that chick Sable was supposedly in like a centerfold for Playboy magazine. So when I turned 18, I'm like, I gotta go buy that Playboy magazine with Sable in it. I want to see her naked, and I did. I bought it. I felt pretty weird, but when I walked out, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I got naked chicks in front of me. Because you got to remember, kids, porn was not as accessible as it is nowadays. We didn't have the interwebs. We had to use either magazines or VHS tapes or...
I mean, there were some websites out there run by some just kind and generous heroes trying to get that content out to the young people of our generation.
And by
so
kind and generous,
huh?
Aaron means himself.
No. I'm not. Speaking about myself specifically, but there were some heroes out there doing the Lord's work.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so I bought the. I think I still have that Playboy magazine somewhere, but I don't know where it is. I might actually have it in my room. I have to go. So yeah, that was the first thing I did when I turned 18 was to buy that. It felt so weird, like going in there and paying for it, and I don't know. It felt like I was doing something illegal. Let's see. Some of the answers on Reddit. User Skelly writes, "It was a Tuesday, so I went to school." All right.
Perfect.
All right. User Flash B Bond writes, "Put my real birth date when making an account on websites." Oh yeah. So you had to like, if you wanted to like get into like the adult websites, they'd ask for your birthday, so you'd have to like make some shit up.
Have they finally given up doing that, where they're like they just realized, oh, teenagers understand how dates work?
Yeah, like they like liquor, alcohol, like breweries and bars and shit still do that, but it's like, what's the point? Like, really, our kids know how to just lie. And
what? I still don't put my real birthday on those.
What do you do?
I'll usually put it like a month or and a couple years off, just because like, fuck you, I don't want you to know my birthday.
Yeah, I do, but I don't. Whatever. Last one I'll read. User Delicately Smoked writes, "Went to the bar that had thrown me out countless times before when I was underage. The bartender laughed and bought me a beer." But wait, when you're 18?
They might not be in the U.S.
Okay, yeah, you're right. It could be some other country where the legal drinking age is. Yeah, I think in Mexico it's like fucking 14 or 16 or some shit. I could be wrong. I could have made that up, but I know that they're a little more lenient. Yeah, it's got to be 18 because we went when we were in college. That was like the thing, right? To go to TJ and go to the bars and drink. Yeah, that was the thing. That's it for Reddit question number 1. Reddit question number 2. What features would you put in your house if you had a ridiculous amount of money, Aaron?
Yeah. The one, I think we talked about this before, and I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit for not putting it in the actual house and building, but I feel like you need like a secret room with a revolving bookcase. I don't know what the point of that is.
Yeah.
Like just something fucking cool in there. Maybe like there's like a secret room, and that's like where like the hot tub is. It's like a little like hot tub / man cave, and you like pull the book out, it revolves around, and it's just all the man cave stuff you would ever want just hidden in this one little room. But the main thing is the bookcase that pulls out, because like that little like 11-year-old part of your brain, you're like, oh, this is cool, I have a secret room, will just light up every single time.
Aaron would keep his Batman outfit in there, like a fucking bat cave, or like in Peacemaker that the dad keeps his white dragon or whatever the fucking KKK villain's costume in.
Mondo, I don't have a Batman outfit. This is just a shirt. I have a Spider-Man outfit.
Oh, okay.
Fuck you.
You could keep that in there. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be desirable. If I had a ridiculous amount of money and I had a ridiculous house, I 172% would build a fucking moat with a drawbridge.
No, why?
To keep my enemies away. In case they ever want to. It just looks cool. Tell me having a moat does not look like having like an actual like big old house, you know, maybe with a drawbridge. It's never crossed your mind as like, I want to have that.
I'm like, yeah, I would like a lot of standing water just surrounding my house.
Yeah, you have like alligators and shit in your moat. So
right, and like insects and bugs, and then like bacteria, and then it starts smelling gross.
It's all right, dude.
Thank you.
It would keep my enemies away from me.
No, thank. What enemies do you need to keep out?
The government.
By water.
The government.
Your enemies who are like, oh no, we're gonna get Armando, but our only weakness is a small amount of water. We're thwarted again. We can't get to him.
Yeah, fuck you, intruders. You can't cross my moat. That's what I would do.
All right. Well, I'm kind of glad that you don't have a ridiculous amount of money to build a house.
User My Karma Ate My Dogma. I love that name. Writes heated bathroom floors.
Okay. You don't really need to be ridiculously rich to do that. I could put those in if you wanted.
I have that in my bathroom, and I just leave them on all day because it's kind of nice to go into the toilet and take a shit in a nice warm room.
Do you have to pay for electricity?
Yeah, and my electric bill is pretty expensive. God damn it. Fucking Colorado. Anyway, yes, to answer your question.
Okay.
User Electric Lear writes, secret rooms, secret passages, water slides, and puppies.
Okay. Obviously, we were a little bit like, I like the idea of secret passages too. That you definitely lose some floor space, but I guess if it's a huge house, that doesn't matter. I don't think you build puppies into a house.
I mean,
like someone's tearing down the walls, and they're like, "Oh no, what the fuck is?"
Yeah, dude, it's like
what are these bones in here?
Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe, The Cask of Amontillado. You ever read that one?
Don't think I have, but.
Oh, dude, I remember that was one of my favorite stories in Edgar Allan Poe.
That would be dope. Remember that movie Clue?
Uh-huh.
Just secret passages all through your house.
Yeah, you'd want a secret passage to into some heliport or something in case you get invaded by zombies. You can take your secret tunnel and then get into your helicopter. Boom.
I don't know. I don't know if helicopters are the way to go.
To get away from zombies?
Rest in peace, Kobe.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Helicopters are not safe. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to fly a helicopter.
I don't know how to. Anyway. User WeTrek writes ice cellar. So basically a very long wooden cellar fridge hallway. One end would a deep freeze. Fucking check your grammar before you type shit on the internet, you fucking pieces of shit. Anyway, one end would deep freeze then it would raise in temperature. I'm not going to read your answer because your answer's so stupid. You fucking fix your grammar, you piece of shit. User Meads24 writes, I have all of these posters of famous paintings I like. Might as well get the originals. All right, well. Last one I'll read. Users.
Actually, that's kind of dope. Like we were thinking more design quality, but they're like, yo, I just want a fucking Van Gogh in my house. Okay.
I guess. I'm not an art fan.
You don't like art?
Not to that extent where I would want like art in my look at I have posters
Only
up.
posters of half-naked men.
Yeah. Duh.
Like Caligula intended.
Right. Last one I'll read. User Stump72 writes, a lazy river that's in the shape of a circle around my house with a rapids chute, of course. See, I could turn my moat into a lazy river.
That's a little bit better because at least the water's flowing, so
Okay.
it's not going to turn
All right.
brackish as
There.
immediately.
I will do that. I will have my moat will be flowing.
So how is this generated?
Like kind of like the Bigfoot rapid rides in like Knott's Berry Farm and in Magic Mountain, where there's like a turbine that turns the water and it kind of goes down rapid
Okay.
stuffs, and then that's how I would do it.
All right.
Duh, Aaron. Everybody knows. That was it. That was it for Reddit. Moving on to our final segment of this episode. New on Netflix, we're going to discuss.
Yeah. Today we're going to review The Legend of Vox Machina.
Yeah.
On Amazon Prime. And Vox Machina started out as a Dungeons and Dragons home game between a bunch of talented voice actors that frankly just got way out of control. It eventually became a podcast, and then somehow they raised $11 million through Kickstarter to make this animated series. Which, like, in of itself, that's kind of cool, Mondo. Like,
Yeah.
Like, imagine, like, one day we have our own animated series
Of what?
of adventures in pooping and
Oh.
strip club stories and who knows what else.
Yep.
There's the Florida Man episode. I mean, I don't think it necessarily has to be that well thought out because it definitely wasn't with Vox Machina. And Vox Machina, like many D&D themed stories, follows the adventures of a ragtag band of misfits who seemingly have no connection to one another. At one point, their gnome bard actually asks, "Why are we even together as a group?" And I was like, "Yeah, why are you even together as a group? Surely that will be explained." And spoiler alert, it never is. On the positive, the voice acting is god tier level anime dub. But I mean, you would hope that they would have good voice acting, like that's kind of their thing.
Yeah.
They've played such pivotal roles as female stormtrooper in Star Wars Battlefront, Lust in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which was by far the better of the two Full Metal Alchemists, from what I understand. Peter Parker in The Amazing Spider-Man on PlayStation 3, and Lex Luthor in DC Super Friends. Although one credit does, I mean, I'm memeing on them a little bit, but one credit really legitimately stood out to me, and that belongs to Ashley Johnson, who plays Pike Trickfoot, a gnome cleric in Vox Machina. But she also played Ellie in The Last of Us on PlayStation 4, which, without exaggeration, might be the single best acting performance in the history of video games. So, like, big shout out to Ashley Johnson.
I think that one though you'd have to play the game to like really get the grip. I haven't played the game, so like I don't that reference. I know I get the reference, but it doesn't have as much weight.
Yeah, of course. That's like saying like you would need to see The Godfather to understand how good of a movie it is. Like, correct. But like I can say from every video game I've ever played, and I always like story-based games, like the acting in that game was just absolutely phenomenal, and I thought she sort of had the leading performance. So she was very, very good in that. And another huge positive for Vox Machina is the animation. Granted, it's not a transcendent work of art like Into the Spider-Verse or Arcane, but it is leaps and bounds better than most anime. I mean, I'd say like at least 4 or 5 times per episode, I'd see a panel that I would legitimately hang on my wall if I was just like 1.2 times bigger of a fantasy nerd. And I don't know if you had that same no, like there were just like parts of the show where I'd just see like one of their images. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Like,
yeah.
Well done, animators. Like you've elevated this slightly above just being a cartoon, and then it goes back to being a cartoon. But unfortunately, that's more or less where I run out of good things to say, because they obviously put that Kickstarter money into the animation and not the writing. Like any ensemble show, it revolves around the characters. And frankly, the animation has more dimensions than the heroes do. They have archetypes like the big barbarian who just wants to fight, the suave half-elf rogue, the whiny gun-toting edgelord. I think that's a D&D class.
Is that what Percy is supposed to be?
I don't fucking know what he's supposed to be. Like, I don't know enough about D&D, but I'm like, this guy's the whiniest bitch in the whole show, and he shoots guns. I don't
Except for when he turns into that plague
doctor.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, those are some of the frames where I'm like, oh, this looks neat. Like, good job, animators. You're trying to somehow save this lame ass character. Well done. Yeah, but they do absolutely nothing to actually develop the characters past those initial archetypes. I did enjoy Sam Riegel's performance as Scanlan, a gnomish bard with a heart of gold and a cock of stone.
Whoa, whoa! You wrote that down? It's cock of stone?
Yes, that's what it says on my script right here. Because the joke is, it's like, oh, look, like, he's a little gnome bard and he just wants to fuck everyone, like literally everyone.
He's like
he does not discriminate.
He's like God damn it, I can't think of the Game of Thrones character that Peter Dinklage plays. What's his
Tyrion Lannister.
He's like Tyrion in the beginning, where Tyrion was just like this fucking.
Except here's the difference: like, Tyrion is a nuanced character,
right?
And he's sort of at odds with the fact that, you know, everyone views him as a little bit of a freak, but he's also really intelligent and clever. Whereas with Scanlan, it's just the same, like, oh, I'm trying to fuck someone joke over and over and over again. Where, like, the first couple times I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny, and then by the 10th time I'm like, all right, we get it. He's gonna stick his dick in whatever he can.
Yeah.
And actually, I think most of the humor in the show consists of random sex jokes, which, if you've listened to this podcast, like, ever, you know I'm not opposed to, but they just shove them in hard, no lube. And frankly, that would have been like a top tier joke for Vox Machina.
Yeah, you should be a writer for Vox Machina.
I know. I don't even have to try.
Yeah. So writers, hit us up.
And I guess the other thing is the show frequently ignores its own internal logic. Like, there's one scene where Scanlan is fleeing an enemy and he's trapped on top of a burning building. Or he would have been trapped if we hadn't just seen him catch himself with a giant magic hand after falling off of a cliff 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
And I'm watching him like, did you forget you can do that? Like, I didn't forget. Like, I'm just casually watching this show, and oh no, okay, he remembered, and now he's caught himself with a giant middle finger. Like,
yeah.
Like, great, Vox Machina, you kind of just destroyed the whole logic of the show for a middle finger gag. Got it. And as far as the plot, like, it kind of has one. I thought they did make a strange decision to have a 3-episode mini arc at the beginning of the show, followed by a 9-episode arc that revolves around the worst character in the show, Percy, the whiny, gun-toting edgelord. And Mondo, I have to say, on a personal note, I'm just deeply disappointed that Percy is the worst character, because his voice actor's name is Taliesin Jaffe.
Yeah, that's right. I saw that.
And I'm disappointed, one, in Taliesin for not developing a more interesting character, but I'm mostly disappointed in Taliesin's parents for naming him Taliesin.
Yeah, that Taliesin's parents, how dare you? You should have picked a better fucking name.
So in conclusion, if you're really down for a swords and magic cartoon show with some bawdy, if not particularly well thought out humor, this might be for you. But if you're like me and are apparently extremely demanding of your cartoons, it only gets a flaccid 5 out of 10 stars.
Whoa, flaccid. I'm generally not a fan of any animated stuff really at all. I have to get like Aaron. Aaron has to sing it high praise for me to be like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And he's like, hey, let's check out this show. I was like, oh fuck, a cartoon, boo. So, but then I looked at the cast, the voice acting cast, and there's a number of like that Ashley Johnson chick. I've seen her in movies. I just don't remember what fucking movie she was in. Also on that was Matthew Mercer, who does the voice of probably one of my favorite games, top 5 favorite games of all time, I would say, Overwatch. The guy that does the voice of McCree, or now they just changed his name to Cassidy some fucking thing.
Yeah, so he's actually sort of the ringleader. Like, he's the dungeon master of their home game and the one who's sort of orchestrating the podcast. So he doesn't voice any of the main characters. But yeah, this is his little brainchild, so to speak.
Another actor that caught my eye for sure was Kari Payton, who plays the king. In The Walking Dead, he plays the king or whatever, the fucking guy that has the kingdom, the guy that has a tiger. basically.
I did not watch The Walking Dead.
Yeah, so Kari Payton plays a very
Joe Exotic?
No. Another actress that caught my attention was Indira Varma, who I recognize as being an actress in Game of Thrones.
Oh?
And then there was
Okay.
one more. Oh, Rory McCann, who plays the Hound, is also a voice in Vox Machina.
Is he?
Okay, you know that you were talking about the burning scene
Uh-huh.
for whatever the fuck the guy's the little elf guy's name is. So the villain that's like up in that burning building that's
Oh,
trying
that was
to
the Hound?
that was the Hound, the guy that does the Hound.
Well, there you go. That's where that 11 million in Kickstarter went. They had to
Yep.
pay the Hound
They
for
had
a
to pay
small
the
bit
Hound.
part.
But yeah, then Dominic Monaghan, also from Lost and Lord of the Rings fame, does a voice. So there's a bunch of like, I guess you could call them cameos because they don't play any of the principal characters. They usually just play these side characters. So that being that I like recognize some of these actors, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And because the show, it's like fantasy, whatever stuff, lore crap, elves and fucking dragons and all this shit, that caught my attention. And then the fact that all these guys are just degenerates, like they're all like kind of fucked up. Like they don't do a whole lot, like you said, they don't do a whole lot of character development. But
like none. There's one part where two of them fall in love, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Where the fuck did that come from? Okay, sure, why not?
But for sure, 100% of all the characters, I would say Scanlan is like closest to being the most degenerate. Like,
Oh, 100%. Well, and it was nice because he was the one where like they did go a little bit off type. It's like they don't develop him. He's not very nuanced.
yeah,
But like some of them are just like, it's like I said, it's like, okay, there's Grog. He's a barbarian and he wants to fight. Like, okay, at least he's a little bit different than your normal D&D characters.
I think he's supposed to symbolize like a bard.
Yeah, he's a bard.
But where it's like his music does a physical manifestation of something. So he does like that hand and all this other weird shit, and he happens to be a perv, which is like, yes, a guy that likes to fuck chicks. Awesome.
But not just chicks, but yes.
Oh yeah. Aaron gave it a 6.
I give it a 5.
Yeah, I would say I'll give it a 6 just to be nice. But yeah, I'm on the same page with you. It wasn't like my favorite thing to watch, but it was still fun. I think the fact that it was a cartoon was why I didn't rate it really high. I just not a big cartoon guy, you know.
Yeah, I think now, particularly with how cheaply they can do animation with computers, like for some of these things, it's worth it. Like they would never be able to get a live action show off the ground with something like this. So like, there's plenty of even books or stories or stuff I would happily watch if they were well animated cartoons, but it was just like just do a little bit better with the writing. Like that's really, I think, there were so many parts where I didn't even want to get into it. This could have just been a list of me being lists of things that annoyed me, jokes that I thought were dumb, and things that didn't make sense in the show.
Yeah.
And it was like, it wouldn't have been that hard to fix if they just did a little bit better. This show would have jumped up a lot for me because I love D&D fantasy type of stuff, but it just didn't quite hold me.
I know you mentioned that you have listened to a podcast based off of D&D games.
Yes.
And I don't know, is there a connection between the podcast you listened to and Vox Machina, or is it just you just randomly came across Vox Machina and you thought the concept was kind of cool?
Yeah, well, so yes and no. So the other one I watched was the podcast is called Not Another D&D Podcast. And they actually do very similar things to this show, where it's like they're taking sort of archetypal D&D characters, but they really turn them on their heads. They make them really different and nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have like a human warrior who just wants to fight, but then you kind of find out that he's actually like was kind of a loser where he came from, and he's like super insecure, so he's like always talking about how huge his quads are, and like it's a little bit of a reversal.
But they're different groups.
So that was a completely different podcast, and I got to the end of that, I'm like, that was amazing. Like that was such an intricately woven story, and there are great characters. Like, are there more D&D podcasts like this out there? So then I found Critical Role, which is the podcast that this show is based on.
Okay.
And I tried to listen to it, and I got through like maybe 2 episodes. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, so that one.
This isn't the same.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this one, when I listened to it, I'm like, well, the voice acting is way better. than NADPOD, but apparently being a good voice actor does not automatically make you good at improv.
Yeah.
Because like it was sort of the same thing where like I couldn't really figure out why they were trying to do any of the quests they were doing, like how the people related to each other. They were kind of just like memeing and making like very surface level sex jokes, and
I'm okay with.
Well, which is like like if that's like part of it, like great.
Yeah.
But if that's all there is, that sort of loses my interest. So I didn't make it very far into listening to Critical Role, and then I was excited when I saw this coming out. I'm like, oh, I remember how good they were at voice acting, and like I'm surely they will have cleaned that up and hired writers. And I think perhaps if they did hire writers, they were trying to be too faithful to the source material.
Got it. That was going to be my second question. If this was based off of the D&D podcast you had listened to, my question was going to be how much of it was like sticking to what you heard in the podcast. Like did they? But obviously it's not based on the one you watched.
I can't remember. So I think I might have come in on their second campaign, and because they have like seasons. Like they'll so they'll go through a whole campaign and then they'll start a new one with different characters. So like I think this might be on their first one, which I didn't listen to. But yeah, my understanding is that this is like semi based on their first campaign, which again I think might have been a little bit of a mistake.
Yeah.
Like take the characters, develop them a little bit, get them some better fucking dialogue, and let those voice actors shine, because they really are. They were very good.
So the biggest weakness is just a lack of good writing. Would you say putting together a cohesive?
I think
story.
So. I mean, and again, a lot of it to me when I watched this, it felt kind of rushed. Which again, I was like confused. I'm like, why would you do this? They did this 3-story arc about a monster that they had to save the kingdom from. Where I'm like, you could have just skipped that and then had more episodes to develop the main story. It was a little bit weird, but hopefully I'm actually legitimately rooting for this to do well. Yeah. Because I hope like it gets a second season where they can they can make it better. And then I would be thrilled to see Not Another D&D Podcast, aka the Bohemia Chronicles, get their own show, because that show was hilarious to me.
Yeah, I think you've talked to me about that one and how.
Yeah, so you know what? Here's the real recommendation. Fuck this show. Go on Spotify or iTunes or whatever and listen to Not Another D&D Podcast. It's a bunch of College Humor alums, and that like it starts off like a little bit shaky like this did, but like very quickly they find their footing and they get these really complex, like intricate stories where they're goofing and they're memeing, and then suddenly it gets serious. I'm like, oh no, like, what's gonna happen to them? So if you're looking for D&D content, that would be my recommendation over Vox Machina. Which, do you even know why they named it Vox Machina?
Because they're all I read in IMDb there's like a trivia section.
Yeah.
And it's because they're all most of the group that play the D&D were voice actors, so it was like a play on voice machine.
I looked that up because in the show there's one part where they're like, oh, it's actually a very clever play on words, and I'm like, is it though? And I look it up. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, not at all.
not even a little bit.
Because I thought like you read the title, and I'm thinking like Ex Machina. I'm thinking like there might even be like robots and some kind of sci-fi element to the thing, but there's absolutely none. There's no. It's just all dragons and knights and elves and bards and all that shit. Today is Super Bowl Sunday. The Cincinnati Bengals are playing the LA Rams. The Rams are favored, but I don't want the crosstown rival LA Rams to get a Super Bowl before my LA Chargers do. So fucking let's go Bengals.
Dude,
what else?
I legitimately forgot it was the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
like because you texted and you said, could we start at noon or 1? And my first thought was like, dude, I tried to start at 1 the last time.
Yeah.
And then we just took like an hour to get going. But I was like, why does Armando want to start so soon? Oh, right. Yeah. It's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I will not be watching.
Also, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Aw. Do you have any plans for Valentine's Day?
Fuck no.
Yeah, neither do I. I'm gonna be at home beating off and editing this fucking podcast so that the audio
At the same time,
but yeah.
you're. Oh my god! It's gonna be during the Roman Emperor part, isn't it?
Yep. Yep.
Oh
Yep.
no, Mondo. That's just wrong, man.
No, I've been watching a shitload of shows that have like released new seasons. Like,
okay.
yeah, no.
That was a very odd time to pause. You're like, I'm gonna be beating off. I've watched a lot of shows that have released new seasons.
New seasons.
What shows are those?
Raised by Wolves.
Oh, you're gonna beat off to the androgynous android, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay.
Just watched the first episode today, but also Ozark season 4. The first half of Ozark season 4 dropped, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Okay.
You never watched? I think you tried, right, to watch Ozark?
I watched the first episode, and I was like, just didn't do it for me.
It didn't hook you. I enjoyed it, and just like most, what happens with most seasons is like when there's like this big gap between seasons,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of tend to lose a little interest, and they bring it back, and you're like, "Oh yeah, okay." So it takes a while to catch up to it. And Ozark season 4, the first half was pretty fucking awesome. Yeah, a bunch of shit. The Book of Boba Fett, watched all that. That shit was amazing. That show was pretty fucking cool.
Okay.
Up there with the Mandalorian thing. But yeah. Congratulations to Izzy Adesanya, who defended his belt against Robert Whittaker. Whittaker looked better than the first fight. Obviously didn't get knocked out, but just couldn't do it. And then Bam Bam Tuivasa. I thought for sure Derek Lewis was going to win that one, but he gets elbowed in the face and face planted. Sucks for him. Second time he's gotten embarrassed in his hometown.
Yeah, but he wrestled. That was hilarious.
Yeah. Well, both of them kind of did little cage grappling stuff, and
But Derek had a nice takedown.
Yeah.
Inside trip.
Yep. But I don't have anything else to add to this episode. Do you have anything else to add?
Nah, I'm just let's just wrap it up. I
All
told
right.
you in the beginning,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling great. I managed to get my neck screwed up even more than it normally is. So I was on the struggle bus today. Tried to power through it the best I could. So
No, we did good. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, we are on Twitch. If you'd like to catch live videos of shit and talk shit to us and chat with us, you can catch us on Twitch. Our Twitch channel's name is Degenerates Clubhouse, easy to find. Or you can catch us on our YouTube channel, also the Degenerates Clubhouse YouTube channel, and chat with us on either one of those things.
You know, one day we should promote these things towards the beginning of the episode when people might still be listening. It's like no one has made it through this far.
But I put it on the I try to put it on the description so that if people actually read the description when they watch it, they could actually like, Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.